True large time is 6:23.
That's the perfect Monday song, other than Manic Monday, of course.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of this song. All right, so we have got what could be mischief at Mountain View. I went on Friday through the pouring wind and rain to the school district headquarters in Goffstown. And they did have, now Stacy Buckley, the superintendent, with whom I have corresponded on numerous occasions, said that she could not fax the bids to me because they were 85 pages and some of them were in binders and that would, quote, require extra work, end quote. So I got there, and I suppose pulling some of the staples out of the packets that had been stapled and taking them out of the it wasn't exactly a 3-ring binder. You go to get those report covers at the drugstore. They get the little brass things that flop over. Yeah. That was the binder that she was talking about. And anyway, so
maybe she keeps the binder locked.
Maybe she does. I don't know. But I got there, and the secretary there, Debbie, very nice lady, and she was, and I asked. Wait, Julie in Manchester just sent me, rainy days and Mondays always get me down. The Carpenters.
Oh, that's a great one too.
There you go. So thanks for the suggestion, Julie. So I got there and I explained why I was there. It's to look at the bids, and she had them right on her desk. I said, "Oh, so you've been expecting me, have you?" And she said, "Well, they are available to the public." Like they weren't until we made it available to a right to know request. So I was sitting in the reception area of the superintendent's office. I did ask to meet with her, but she was in a meeting, and I left a message. I would sincerely like to sit down and have a little chat with Stacy Buckley and see if we can't do a little something to get on the same page with sharing information.
She's likely to hurt you, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
she's likely to take you out, and I don't mean on a date.
Oh, well. I can think of worse things than being assaulted by relatively attractive women.
I'm sure you have been a thorn in her side.
Well, but you know what? I should be a thorn in her side because they're not doing stuff in accordance with the law. But that said, maybe there's a method. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, and I'm more than happy to sit down with her. More than happy to have her or Phil Pancoast or anybody else from the Goffstown School Board come on the air and share their side. But so I was sitting there in the reception area, and there's no table. There's just a couple chairs that are there, and I asked the lady, the receptionist, I said, is there a place where I could sit and have a table or a desk or something to put my laptop and these bids on? Or she said, oh no, I've been told that they can't leave this room, so you'll have to deal with it here. I said, oh, okay. So I did. I sat there in the chair for almost an hour and a half reviewing these bids, and it was very interesting to see these bids and how they were structured. So let's get right to it. I have to tell you that in reviewing the bids, that I do believe the bid that was the most directly responsive to the RFP in terms of the personnel, their qualifications, the required experience, did they or did they not provide the requested information, was from SERESC, the company in Bedford that employs Diane McCarthy. Now that bid came in at $27,100. Interestingly, the transmittal letter, which is the cover letter accompanying the bid, and the bid itself were both dated September 13th. Now, Dave, why is that important?
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to tell me.
I am, because the deadline for submission was September 12th. So one of the questions...
Right under the wire.
No, right over the wire.
Okay, so that's not a qualified bid.
Well, one of the questions I have is, and I asked Debbie, the receptionist there, the administrative assistant, I said, do you happen to know whether or not this bid was disqualified because it came in a day late? And she said she didn't know. I said, well, I didn't expect you to, but I just thought I'd ask since there's nobody else that is here to answer the questions. So one of the questions that I have is, was this bid discarded because it came in a day late? It would seem awfully strange to me that a company like SERESC, whose bread and butter is doing these kinds of consulting contracts, who was an original bidder, who knew the specifications, would go through all of the trouble of developing a bid to submit it a day late. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because there has been some scuttlebutt that I am trying to track down that says West Ed, the company that bid, by the way, and West Ed, one of the things that people had to provide were resumes on all of the people who would be doing the work, the team, so to speak. Well, 2 of the 3 people on the team for West Ed didn't have the resume there because they had been submitted in a previous submission. They'd been given in a previous submission. Well, that would be the one that Stacy Buckley said was going to sit in a drawer and not be a factor in these bids. But the bid specifications do say that you don't have to submit a resume if you'd already given it to the district. So I had to leave a request with the administrative assistant to the superintendent to get me those resumes to see whether or not their qualifications are. Because I'll tell you what, the guy leading the West Ed bid has got that I can see, no direct experience, which I believe was one of the requirements, no direct experience teaching at or being an administrator in the middle school level. Now, he has some consulting experience, but his experience doesn't. I wouldn't call him a middle school consultant based on what I read. And not only was their bid $35,581, but they asked for, what would be follow-up costs, implementation training cost. SERESC, nothing listed. West Ed, $2,550 per day if training or professional development requirement, and meeting facilitation was $1,500 per day. So if there's any follow-up to the actual consultation, Goffstown is looking at $1,500 to $2,550 per day in additional costs.
We're talking the folks that won the bid.
Yeah, these are the ones who won the bid. And then there was Ben Hampton's bid for $1.
A whole dollar.
A whole dollar.
Was there any follow-up?
Well, it wasn't a whole dollar. We have to take that. It wasn't a whole dollar. The only other thing Ben said, he said, I will charge you $1, but any documentation and stuff that I need, document production and whatnot from the district,
reimbursement,
you have to pay for that.
Right. That's still ridiculous for him to demand that.
Now, Ben.
So what about follow-up costs with Ben? Anything there?
Specifically nothing. Now, I'll tell you something else. In reading the bids, and I read all 4 of them, the 4th one was from a guy named Timothy Neville out of Bow. He was at $40,000 plus mileage, which he anticipated at $511.50. Anyway, so Ben's bid was the only one in English that I could understand. I mean, there was the other two consulting companies had a lot of, shall we say, jargon, a lot of lingo, a lot of, are you kidding me? And I'm
hire me to see what's in my bid.
That's right. Of thing. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I know we've talked about this on the show before, but maybe we just need to remind the listeners, maybe just people that are catching up with this or have never heard it before. Ben knows his stuff, right? He's done this work before.
Well, he's a former certified superintendent, certified business administrator, certified finance officer. He's got a number of years at that. Yeah.
So by all measures, this is a qualified bid.
Well, for the most part, it is. There's one person on their team that has 25 years of direct experience in middle school, in addition to the experience that he and the others that he brought to the table, where his experience is not so much in middle school so much as it is in the sort of broader district administration, him personally. One of the people on their team was an expert at using things like SurveyMonkey and other online tools to do assessment. So one of the areas where Ben's bid did fall short is he was unable to provide, West Ed did not provide a sample of a recently done study or a link to one done as required or requested in the bid, at least not that I could see. SERESC did. Ben did not, and I asked Ben about that. He said, well, I've not done one before, so I can't provide one. I said, okay, that makes sense. And Ben Hampton did something that was very different from the rest of the field. And the rest of the field, they all listed personnel that they were going to go interview one-on-one to discuss what was happening at Mountain View. Ben didn't do that. What Ben did was set up a system of public hearings. So there would be where teachers, parents, school board members, administrators, both at the building level and at they would be invited, and members of the public would be invited to come and speak to the team in a public setting to air their grievances or their what they thought was good and what they thought was right. And then they were going to set up a rather elaborate online survey system where people could privately go and answer questions or offer comments about what was happening at Mountain View Middle School. And I asked him why he was doing that, because everybody else took a markedly different approach. And he said, well, we were concerned that if we walk into the building and start interviewing teachers, people would know who we were talking to, and people might not be free with their information because they'd be afraid of being singled out. And I said, well, why not interview somewhere off-site? He said, well, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'll summarize it by this way. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Where are we going to meet that people are going to feel comfortable going to and not being seen?
Yeah, small town.
So this is the approach that they took, which I thought was interesting. So other than not being able to provide an example of a study they had done because they hadn't done one, I would say that Ben's bid was qualified. Certainly the people on his team, there were 4 people on his team, including himself, had substantial qualifications in everything from actually having taught at or been an administrator at middle school to district level experience to presentation experience to formidable experience to do the online survey work that they were proposing to do. So I by contrast, the folks at West Ed, I mean, West Ed is a national firm. They do this stuff, but they provided synopsises of some of the work that they had done at various school districts, including one in an elementary school district in Phoenix, Arizona, the Hillsborough Deering Elementary School up in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, and the Mastrocola Elementary School in Merrimack. But they didn't list anything done at a middle school. So here's the rub as we're kind of taking a look at this. Some of the scuttlebutt out there is that West Ed is in fact going to subcontract, is going to hire somebody else to do this work. Now, Stacy Buckley says the contract can't be assigned or given to another company. Yeah, I understand that. But the question that I have sent to her that is yet to be answered is, but can they hire somebody to do the job under their auspices? Could they hire Rich Girard? Could they hire consultants that work for SERESC? Who could they hire? Because the scuttlebutt out there is that potentially SERESC has been hired by West Ed to assist with this work. Now, I don't know that to be true. I'm reporting it as something that I'm getting from various sources that are working on the matter, but it seems odd that what strikes me on the surface as the most qualified bid comes in a day late amongst the rumors that they're actually going to be doing the work for West Ed. I hope I get an answer as to whether or not West Ed can actually or is required to do it with personnel they employ, mainly the 3 people that are listed in the bid, or whether or not some of it can be done through other contractors or companies that they contract with.
Sounds like more paperwork.
So hopefully we'll get that.
Maybe by the year 2013 we'll get to the bottom of all this. Maybe.
Hi, this is Rich Girard. As you know, our mission here at Girard at Large is to connect local people, places, and things by bringing you news from our own backyard. Did you know that GoffstownToday.com has a similar mission? So when we want to know what's happening in Goffstown, Ware, Dunbarton, or New Boston, we go to GoffstownToday.com.
Hi, this is Bill Wynn, publisher of GoffstownToday.com. If it's happening in Goffstown, Ware, Dunbarton, or New Boston, even in Pinardville, you can find out about it on GoffstownToday.com. If we know about it, you should too.
LMW 90.7 FM.
It's uplifting and powerful, and it's a good message all around.
New Hampshire Family Radio.
It's just a good station to listen to.